Reggie here, your friendly neighborhood bodybuilder and comic book collector, and I want to welcome you to another one of my live streams. This is the Ready, Set, Go preview show. This is a show that I do every single Sunday night at 7:30 p.m. Pacific time, and it is an opportunity for us to come together as a channel and have a fantastic time talking about some news and some current events. Generally, we discuss some things that are top of mind for me and may also be top of mind for you. We give away a cool slab thanks to our friends over at Go Collect, and I also give you a preview of some of the content that is going to be coming out from my channel over the course of this week. And above all else, we have a fun time doing so. And if you are here for the first time, I definitely want to encourage you to introduce yourself to the other members, the other folks that are hanging out in this chat right now. If you haven't yet subscribed to the channel, if you enjoy your time here, I want to encourage you to hit the subscription button, turn on notifications so that you can stay abreast of all the content that comes out from the channel. And if you happen to be in that 32% of people who watch the content time and time again, but haven't yet hit the subscription button, I want to encourage you guys to do it as well. That way you don't miss anything. And if for some reason you have turned on notifications and you are not getting notified when I go live or when I release content or whatever it happens to be, you may actually want to check the settings on your phone or whatever device you might be using, because sometimes those devices can override what it is that you set as a preference within YouTube itself. If that doesn't resolve the problem, you may have to unsubscribe for the channel and then resubscribe to the channel. And oftentimes one or two of those two things will actually address your problem. And we have some things that we are going to get to over the course of this show. We're going to talk about some indie comics. We are also going to do some Regie reading recommendations, some stuff that I've been reading. We'll talk about those things ever so briefly. And then before we get to either one of those things, I want to say hello to some comic book soldiers that have joined me here in the live chat. And then I am going to do some housekeeping items because I still have some giveaway books that are sitting off to my side here. So we're going to talk about those things in just a hot moment. So let me go ahead and say hello to some comic book soldiers that are here in the room. Scrolling up. So Randy Resnake is in here. It is good to see you, my friend. If you haven't yet had a conversation with Matthew to know what the next project is that I'm working on, if you send me a message, I will hook you up, Randy Resnake. I appreciate it. My man Sean, how you doing, brother? It is good to see you. Chuck is in the house. It is good to see you. The Blue Wrench. The OG Blue Wrench, Tina is in here. Peter M, how you doing, brother? It is good to see you. Thank you for all the great messages that we've been exchanging recently. My man Thomas Mayo is in the house. It's good to see you. Doc J, Doug is in the house. It is good to see you, my friend. Joe is here. Sully Two Kings in the house. Matt Woods is in here. It is always good. What is this? Tina is starting to get sick. Be careful. Tina is silent but deadly, brother. It's silent but deadly. Trust me. Brandon, it is good to see you, my friend. Chris Bigger, thank you for sending me that awesome video earlier today of Stan Lee and the Black Panther. That was really cool. Very, very touching video that you sent earlier. Thank you for that, brother. I definitely appreciate it. My man Jerry is in here. Jerry, it is always good to see you, my friend. Scrolling through Comic Maestro. Well done. Let me see who else. My man Scott P is in here. It's good to see you, my friend. As always, thank you for all of your assistance, as well as those wonderful blog posts that you've been sending over. I had someone send me a message earlier today saying that they've been enjoying your blog posts that have been posted up to regiecollects.com. So I want to say thank you for your continued support, both publicly and behind the scenes. And you know what I mean. Quincy, it is good to see you. Young Matthew is in the house. Good to see you, my good friend. All right, so we have some housekeeping things that we need to talk about. So Every single week, we do a giveaway from our friends over at Go Collect. We've been doing this for 82 some odd weeks. And this is the first week that we, I think, have ever gotten this far off of a giveaway where no one has actually claimed a prize. And not only claimed one prize, we're talking about two. I have two prizes, awesome books that are sitting on my table here. And I need these books to be claimed. We're going to do these in some semblance of an order. This is the first book. This is Daredevil 168. This is a book that we are on our fourth week now. 3 people have missed out on claiming this book already because they are not watching the Ready, Set, Go preview show to find out if they are indeed the winner. And so right now, this is on the 4th place person. You now have 1 week to claim your prize. And if not you, we will go to the 5th person. And then after that, if it gets to the 5th person and that time expires, we may just do a random giveaway to whoever in a live stream. We may just do something super strange and we are going to just give away a book because it's been sitting here. At that point, it would have been for 6 weeks. So right now, the next person that has 1 week to claim this Daredevil book, first appearance and origin of Elektra, is Ray J. Flow, RJAY Flow. Ray J. Flow, you now have 1 week to claim this book. All you have to do is to send me an email to Regie@regiecollects.com with your screen name, your government name, your mailing address, and I will get this book bundled up and sent out to you. And Derek W., I want you to be on deck. Derek W., you should be on deck because if Ray J. Flow does not claim it, it will go to Derek. And if neither one of these gentlemen claim it, one of the people that is possibly watching this video could indeed be the winner. So stay tuned for that. All right, the next book that we still have sitting here is I'm actually going to share my screen right now so I can show you guys the random.org list from, I think, last week. There were 272 people that entered last week's giveaway. Tim Champion had 1 week to claim it. He did not. So now it is on Christopher LaFontaine. Christopher LaFontaine, super dope name. You, sir, now have 1 week to claim the Godzilla. If I can get it, Godzilla #1 9.8. You now have 1 week from today to actually claim this book. And again, all I need from Christopher LaFontaine is a screen name, a government name, which might be the same thing, mailing address, and I will bundle it up and get it off to you. And I really do hope that these guys claim these books because it is crazy trying to remember where we are in the rotation for all of these books. And so I want them gone. And again, if they are not claimed in a timely fashion, we're going to do some crazy stuff and just start giving stuff away to random people that happen to be in a live chat. All right, so there we go. That is a little bit of our housekeeping, and I definitely want to encourage you to stay tuned because we're giving away another Daredevil book a little bit later in the show, Daredevil 158. Really cool Frank Miller book that we're going to be giving away, and then I'm also going to give you guys a preview of the next book that is sitting on my desk that will be given away this upcoming week. All right, so with that, I am actually going to hopefully engage you guys. EE is in the house. This dude just bought into a comic book store. He is living his best life. Nick, shout out to you, brother. If you want to shout out the comic shop that you now own, URL, that kind of stuff, definitely throw it up in the comment section so that folks can check you out. This dude is living his best life, buying into a comic shop, doing all the good stuff that many of us want to do, you know? All right, Glory Quest, how you doing? My Canadian brother, Rush Diehard, how you doing? Why? I don't know why you guys make fun of me with robust. Here's the thing, is I didn't know just how many phrases I had until I started doing YouTube, right? And I've realized that I say right a lot. And there's another actually, I am like stuck on the word actually right now. So I need to do a better job to filter out some of those things. I don't do a lot of ums, but I will use an actually like nobody's business. All right. So I want to talk a little bit about indie comics, and I'm hopeful as you guys as you robust, it's going to be I am honestly hoping for a robust conversation here around indies. And if you guys see me sweating, it is not because I am nervous. It is because it is hot in San Francisco Bay Area right now. Our AC is cranked up, but when you have all these studio lights aimed at me so that you can actually see me, there are beads of sweat that are forming on my head. So please bear with me if I have to wipe my brow. But I am honestly hoping that we can get into a robust conversation. I know that you guys are going to be talking amongst yourselves, and I definitely encourage that. That is why you guys come here, is to engage with me, but also to engage with one another. I definitely get that. But I'm hoping that we can also have a conversation around indies and independent comic book publishers. And there is a reason for this. The independent comic book publishers that are out there, in my opinion, are doing a fantastic job right now. They are putting out some amazing content. And this is not to take away from Marvel and DC in any way, shape, or form. I have just noticed, this is my personal observation, that indies are killing it. They are killing it. And I think that a lot of YouTubers, not just myself, but a lot of YouTubers are taking notice of what they are doing. And many of us are actually starting to work with some of these indies. And I think you see, if you follow some of the bigger YouTube channels out there, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And it's partly because these indie companies see the benefit in working with YouTubers and content creators. They understand that we touch the comic book community in a way that is unique and authentic in many ways. And I think a lot of these companies are choosing to work with us, and we are choosing to work with them because they are doing something that is magical. And we are doing something that is magical in terms of creating these fantastic communities where people are talking and coming together. You know, we average here, you know, possibly 150, 175. This might be a bad night, but we typically have a ton of people here that are engaged in this robust conversation. And I think that it's fantastic. There are a couple of companies that I want to identify. And if you know of some other indie companies, I would definitely want to encourage you guys to put them up in the comment section, because all of what I am doing right now is really designed to continue to support the indie publishers that are out there putting up content. And I'm just talking across the board, right? So in my mind, there are some that I readily think about. There is Ablaze with Gung Ho. Gung Ho is fantastic. I've enjoyed it, and I have some information that Gung Ho might be coming back, so I'm excited about that. Grand Way Comics up in Canada, they are doing some really cool things with Space Cowboy, and you guys have heard me talk about Space Cowboy before. I've read it. I enjoy it. That's not their only title, but that's the one that I really enjoyed. Boom Studios. And I saw somebody shout out Boom Studios here a moment ago. Jerry, my man Jerry, Red Mother is fantastic. It is fantastically creepy in like a special kind of way, but Something is Killing the Children. I read a couple of issues of Something is Reading the Children this weekend. 7 Secrets, fantastic. We're on issue 1, and I read it and I enjoyed it, and I'm excited to see where this particular story goes. We Only Find Them When They're Dead by Al Ewing. Fantastic Space Odyssey. This is one where, again, issue 1, where is it going? I don't know, but I'm going to enjoy the journey. And so I want to definitely give a shout out to that thing because it is incredible. Vault Comics, who I had never heard of before. One of you guys recommended to me Bleed Them Dry. I read it, issues 1 and 2. Great vampire story. Thoroughly enjoyed that. And then the last one that I want to talk about here is TKO Studios, and they have Sarah. They have a couple of others that are out there, but Sarah is one that I read and thoroughly enjoyed. Those are just a couple, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 indie companies that I am reading and enjoying. And just for the record, I do not consider Image an indie. I do not consider them an indie at all, but those are the really cool ones. So again, there we go. Almighty Liger King with Something is Killing the Babies. That is not the title. If someone Googles that, they will not find it. Something is Killing the Children. That girl with those big old creepy eyes, that is definitely a creepy thing. I think I saw Vault there real quick. I had to make my screen bigger. Tariq, I think that's how you say your name. Vault right there. Let me see. I lost a lot of comments here. Oh, let me scroll up because I wanna go through these things real quick. Scout Comics, there we go. Loggerhead says Sully Two Kings. Scout is going to have a younger comics division called. I did see that. I did not read. I didn't read the whole thing in its entirety, but I saw that Scout Comics was going to have a like a young adult division, which I thought is really cool. Let me scroll through. Scrolling through, Ablaze is putting, yeah, I thought you'd be excited about that one. Yeah, they're doing it. What is it called? Red Nails. I think that's what Ablaze's Conan thing is called. I think it's Red Nails. What is this? Aftershock Comics, A Walk Through Hell was great. Let me write that one down because I have, who is that? Aftershock. I have not read this one. Walk Through Hell, I have to check that one out. Let me see. Scrolling through, Tariq is shouting out Aftershock. Let me scrolling through, just trying to give an opportunity to shout out some of these. Again, we are primarily talking about indie companies, and Image's titles are not considered indie in my mind. Seven Secrets says Almighty Liger King again. Man, I cannot wait until they get past the first one. Managed to get, what is this, Something is Killing the Children and Red Mother trades last week. If you had not read those, Juggernaut, you will enjoy it. Oh my goodness, how did I forget? Oh my goodness, AWA The Resistance, fantastic. I think we are on issue 4, I want to say. Such an incredible title. I don't know how I forgot about AWA. They are doing it. They are doing it big with the Resistance. I'm hoping that they will find some way to continue building out this universe that they have started, if you will, with the Resistance. I'm on their website frequently trying to see whether they're going to do some announcements of what's coming next. I'm hoping that they come out with something more because it is awesome. L. Smith is shouting out Once and Future from Boom Studios. Scrolling through, seeing what else you guys are talking about. Dan P is he's just saying, check it out. If it has a long title, it must be a dope read. That is awesome. That is awesome. Let me see. You know what? I saw this one earlier. I have not read this one. Scout Comics from Adam here is talking about It Eats What It Feeds. I saw It Eats What It Feeds on something that I was looking at earlier. Didn't read it, haven't read it. I might need to check that one out. I honestly have not read anything from Scout. I've purchased some books from Scout, but I have not actually read any of those books. I actually picked it up with the wrestler that passed away. I bought some of his books, but I have not read any of their stuff. So I may have to check that out. So scrolling down, scrolling through some of the comments here. What is this? The 1 week I start reading Marvel. Thomas Mayo, brother, I have to stay ahead of the curve. I have to keep it moving, brother. I have to keep it moving. Scrolling down. All right. So again, one of the good things that I've seen is that these indies are putting out some really, really great content. And I'm curious. I'm going to be reading the comments here as I always do. I am curious, in you all's mind, what is it that makes these indie comics and companies appealing? What is it specifically that makes them appealing, right? And so again, I'm looking for answers here. I'm looking to create a dialogue that maybe some of these publishers can actually look at and learn from. So that's why we are doing this. Again, it is all in the spirit of trying to help out these indie companies, because here is the reality. The reality is that indies are not new. Indie comics have been around for decades. And if you pay attention to some of the content that I've released from the channel, I've actually talked about some of these companies that were there in the past that have essentially come and gone. And so the question is, what can we do to help these indies actually stay around? That is part of what I am trying to get to with this, because there are dozens of companies that have come and gone that many of us have never heard of, and we may talk about some of them in this video, but possibly in another. So freedom to write what they want is one of the comments that I got here from Justin. Original fresh stories from Levi, and I'm scrolling through the comments here. I lost one of it. They can focus on new universes and not tied to legacy, says Comic Book 1962. Chris Bigger is basically saying going off of the norm, unique stories without boundaries. Very good, very good. Scrolling through, seeing what else you guys are talking about. They are not afraid to take chances. Well done. They don't fit into cookie cutter story arcs, making content for niche fans. The art and the story matter to me. These companies less so. Let me see. I think here we go. Sully to Kings. To me, the stories are much more robust. Ooh, thank you. Much more robust and fleshed out. They are not so dependent on a big superhero to draw customers. They don't have to retcon anything. No restrictions, doing their own thing. Very good. Very good. Most stories by indies are easy to read. And I think I know what you mean by that, Jeffrey. But if you want to add a little bit more to it, ownership, I think, well, maybe they have ownership. I think in the case of Image, I think that they do have ownership. But if we're talking about some of these others, I don't know if they have true ownership. Scrolling through, okay, creator driven. Here's another comment, 1962. Fresh content across different genres, characters that have or creators that have artistic freedom. So that's part of what I was trying to get to is what is it in you all's mind that makes these indies fresh and unique? Because here's the thing, everything that you guys just mentioned to some degree or another is exactly what has always existed. Back when we talked about Pacific Comics back in 1980s, they had all of these things, right? And well, I wasn't collecting back then, but I'm going to assume that they have freedom and the ability to create robust characters and tell fresh stories unencumbered by 80 years or so of history and legacy and all that other stuff. And again, I guess what I'm trying to get to is what makes this time unique, or are we saying that it's not unique? Is it just another phase, another cycle that we are going through right now, where we see fantastic publishers come along and then they will go away and then there'll be another set in another 10 years or something like that? Is that where we're getting to? Because if you think about it, a lot of the publishers, and so we're talking about Pacific Comics, Comico, First Comics, Texas Comics, just to name a few, Charlton, all of these companies have been out there and they've come and they've gone. And so the question is, what is there something that could make a difference this time around? Now he's just teasing me. Comic Book 1962 says it's just a cycle. Ultimista says, I'm able to interact with a few indie creators on a regular basis as fans. I will tell you that that's actually pretty cool. I was talking to Stanford Green just the other day. We were going back and forth about the artwork that I just bought from him. And I will tell you, that was pretty cool. I was talking with the artist that's working on some G.I. Joe stuff just the other day. And I would definitely agree. But I don't know if that's because of the fact that they work for indies, or if it's because with social media, creators are much more accessible than they were once before. And it's not this wall that exists where you can't get in touch with them, or you can only see them at cons. You can literally send an email to every creator you've ever wanted to talk to. That doesn't mean that they're going to respond, but you do have the ability to actually reach out. And some of them are actually very active on social media, which I think is a good thing. Let me see. Scrolling down through some of the comments here, seeing what else you guys are talking about. Malibu Comics, there you go. One that has come and gone, and I think technically absorbed, right, by somebody. Yes, what sank first? Pacific continuity, were their inability to stay in business due to financial management issues, not necessarily the characters. Well said. So Chuck, what is different though? Is there anything that is different? Because to the point, right? It wasn't the lack of creativity. It wasn't the content that they were producing, because in many ways, they put out some really awesome books. Many of these guys were working with some fantastic creators like Jack Kirby, and we've talked about that, right? But they're no longer here, right? And the question is why? Why are they no longer here? And it could just be that, you know, that the season wasn't right. They didn't necessarily have the right business model. I don't know. Let me see. There's a comment here. There are good indies everywhere. I think it's up to the readers who are actually following these indie books to sort of show by word of mouth that the book and the company are worth keeping up with. Well said. And that is part of the reason why we are doing this video right here, to be able to support those independent companies that are out there trying to do their thing. And here's the thing. Let's be honest. Social media, YouTubers, all of this stuff right now did not exist back in the 80s. It did not exist. And so you couldn't have this grassroots type of effort to support. You needed word of mouth. Whereas now, you need word of mouth, don't get me wrong, but you also have the ability through people like me and some of these other YouTubers out there and through social media to reach a lot of people, which is really good. Another point here, easy to read, not in a lot of dialogue and confusing backstories. Well said, Jeffrey. Scrolling down through the comments here. Let me see. Scrolling down. Unencumbered. Ooh, I like that. I like words, man. I like words. Ooh, I think speculation is really bringing attention. But here's the thing, Dan P. And again, hopefully no one takes offense to anything that I'm doing, because I'm trying to create a robust dialogue. And sometimes to do that, gotta be feisty, right? I have spoken to people, and this is what people will tell me. I collect Marvel and DC because of the money, but I read a lot more indies. I have literally had people say that to me. I collect Marvel and DC because of the money associated with, because of the speculation, but I read a lot more of the indies. So here's the question. Is there actual value in indie comics from a dollars and cents perspective, or is it truly just about the entertainment that comes along with these fantastic stories that are being written and illustrated by these creators? Is there a collectibility to them? I.e., and on top of that, is there speculative value as well? Like true speculative value. You know what I'm saying? I'm not talking about a book that spikes up to $100 for a couple of weeks and then drops off. I'm talking true long-term value. Is there any with some of these? And yes, probably the best example, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, probably the best example. But are there more? Are there more besides Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles? Scrolling down through the comments here. Here we go. A comment here by Peter. He says, lost it. Kickstarter campaigns build a fan base following. Indies see the potential for monthly release. Okay, I can see that, and I've supported some of those, and I think many of you have as well. White Widow is one that I know a guy. Joaquin, he actually does White Widow, and I've read some of them, and they're actually really good. They're really good. But to be honest with you, my challenge is I can only get them to Kickstart. I don't want to do Kickstart. I just want to be able to go to the local comic shop and grab them off the shelf, right? So here's a question. Is it necessary for indie comics to be successful to actually be in local comic shops? Scrolling through, seeing what else you guys, it's not a phase. There has always been great indies. It was harder to find before the net. Well said, Robert Snyder. Well said. But the question remains, will they be able to sustain? Will they be able to continue into the future? Because again, you to find them on the net means that you have to be looking for them. Most of the time, these companies don't have the super large budgets to be able to do, non-personal promotion stuff, to be able to reach the masses of people, to be able to build with that groundswell. So in order to find them on the net, you technically have to know what you're looking for, which means that they have to get the word out. How does the word get spread? I don't know. Scrolling through the comments here. Scrolling through, here we go. So a good comment here. I think it's cool that the mainstream writers and artists can do their own thing with indies. I have seen that. I have seen this as well. And we might actually talk about this point, because I think that this is actually a legitimate point right here. What is this? From L. Smith, a lot of indies in the 80s and 90s were still doing spandex, warring superhero stories. Now they're doing stories other than superheroes. There is something to be said for spandex as a person who loves spandex. But I think that you're right. I think that the diversity of content probably is a good thing. And I'm speaking a little slowly because I'm actually thinking back to many of the comics that are actually in my collection. And I'm talking my expanded collection because I have a ton of indies from, again, Comico, Texas, First Comics. I mean, comic companies you've never heard of before. Some of them are like out of Detroit that were just like a PO box, right? Literally out of Detroit. And then I would see a book and it would be a Detroit title, a PO box, and then it would be a Southfield. And I'm like, is the printing place moving, the publisher moving that much? I mean, there are companies out there that you have never heard of before, but maybe it could be partly what you're describing is diversity of the content that is being put out might be part of the appeal and what might allow some of these companies to actually survive. I think that is an excellent point from my man L. Smith right there. Scrolling through, seeing what else. Not sure that it's different, but it takes time. Eclipse was developing its own universe before collapsing. Look at what had happened with Valiant 1.0. Well said. Well said. It is not easy. It is not easy. And a couple of you have already hit on the business aspect of things. And so one of the questions that I asked earlier, and I haven't yet gotten to it because maybe I haven't gotten that far, is it necessary for these indies to actually be in local comic shops? And I asked that question because of essentially what we're talking about here, the business side of things. In order to put these books in local comic shops, you have to produce some books and you have to spend some money. Printing is expensive. So part of where I'm going is it necessary to have print? Can they go digital? Can they do on demand, kind of like what TKO Studios is doing? Can they do binge reading? Can they put out like 6-issue stories and have people access those and download them? And I say that because, again, printing is super expensive. And so is there a way for them to cut back on it? Or if they go digital, does that impact their business? Because if they're digital, then that affects the collectibility, which affects the speculative value, which is something that we talked about earlier in this chat. Scrolling down through the comments here. Comment here from Comic Book 1962. The freedom of not having a past to lose is how they start. Later, most get tied keeping the story running beyond the original creative idea. Oh, well said. That is actually a really good point. That is actually a good point. And what I think he's saying here is that a creator has this really great idea, but the idea is only so big, and the so big might only be 10 issues. Come issue 11, the idea there may not be enough meat on the bone left to actually make a meal come issues 11, 12. That's actually a really good point, which means that maybe what you have to do is to have really awesome ideas that either run their course and you end them and you have another really awesome idea, or you find a way to make that initial idea a bigger idea and allow it to keep growing. Those are essentially the options, at least as I see it in this very moment of brainstorming on the fly. So scrolling down to the comments here. If social media was out in the 90s, Top Cow would be #1 comic book company. Why do you feel that way? I'm gonna tell you, man, the stealth that they put out, that version of stealth for me, Chris Bigger, is that Top Cow was fantastic. The new one, it's good, but the original stealth was incredible. So social media is helping these small publishers with great books get more recognition. Well said. Scrolling through, I will remind you guys that it's not necessary to keep repeating the same thing. There's a reason why I haven't said, which you keep typing. Scrolling through, seeing what else you guys are talking about. Some of these small guys would go to cons to sell their books, but with no cons this year, it is harder for them to sell books. Well said. I don't know that I would disagree. It's hard to find a foothold in the market when you have Marvel and DC taking up most of the shelf space. Well said, brother. Well said with that one. Scrolling through web cons. have built major followings without print. Oh, I never web comics. I've never heard of them, says Doug. This is a thing, man. Maybe going digital is a way. I mean, it's a great way to actually keep your costs down. You don't have to be beholden to regular distribution methods if you decide to go that route. The challenge, of course, is that not everyone likes reading digitally. A lot of people like to read print copies of books, and so that is a drawback. Another drawback is the collectibility, which we talked about before. If you can't collect it, if you can't hold it, if you can't put it in a bag and board and file it away in a bin, then you can't collect it. And maybe there's also no value associated with that because it's a digital comic and not a print comic, which could be a hindrance, especially in this environment with speculative hype. But again, it's a way to put a comic out there. Maybe what you do is you build up your base by doing digital comics, and then you try to do print comics. But by that point, again, the drawback is, well, what's the first appearance? Was the first appearance the digital, or was the first appearance the print that came out a year after the initial digital? That's a hard thing. I don't know how you fix that in this environment. Scrolling down through some of the comments here. Also, Kickstart can help get a print release out. Yes, I would agree. And I've seen some people do that. I've done a couple of Kickstarts where they've actually, they didn't do a digital version, but they pulled together the money and actually printed the book, and then everybody got a copy of that. But again, that's a way to put comics out. But what is it that keeps comics going, right? Because you can't do a Kickstart every single time you want to release an issue. At least I don't think you can, because Kickstart campaigns have to run for a period. And my guess is that period is longer than 1 month. So well, I guess maybe you do a larger Kickstart and do a number of issues and release those. But again, that's only going to be a certain number of people that you're going to be able to get. You're not going to get the casual person that wants to first read it and thumb through it to figure out whether they actually want to buy it, or that spur of the moment purchase at the local comic shop, or that local comic shop owner saying, I just read this really cool book. It's right there. It's $3. You might want to just grab it. Okay, I'll grab it. You can't do that with digital. You can't do that with Kickstart. That is a drawback. Scrolling through here, seeing what else you guys are talking about. Little room for error with indies. One bad story or major delay and people tend to run away. There you go. Couple of Chuck's been around for a long time, man. Chuck has been around for a long time. He's dropping knowledge up in here, and I definitely appreciate that. So we've talked about the role of story. Story is very important. I'm going to go out on a limb and actually say that art is also important. One of the things that I kind of thought about, and I think you guys hinted on it, for those that are coming in a little bit late, we are talking about indie comics and what it might take to help indie comics and publishers remain viable into the future, so as to not have this repeating cycle of indies that come up and then go away because they couldn't make magic happen, and then another crop that comes up a decade later. So we're kind of talking through what some of these indie publishers may be able to do to remain viable into the future. And again, one of you came up with this, and it was also a thought that I had around freshness. Does freshness have anything to do with the appeal of indie comics? And again, I'm curious what you all's thoughts are on this. And what I mean by freshness is that there is no 80 years of history. There's no 80 years. There's no retcons. There's no reboots. There's no, well, what is the continuity and what is out of continuity? And there's no new character that is now introduced as the old character wearing the same suit but with a different name. There's none of that. It's all new. And so in my head, part of what makes these stories that are told, if they're good stories, awesome, is the freshness of them. Literally, the word that you are reading on the page is the story, and that is the past, and that is the past and the present for that particular character. Everything you need to know is in that book that you happen to be reading. And so again, it's one of those things that by having these indies out there and not having this long history associated with them, it's an opportunity for anybody to actually get on board without having to know anything about the character. And I talk to a lot of people that are new to comics, and people are like, but I don't know where to begin. I don't know where to start. I think I'm interested in Batman, but where should I read? It's like, Batman is like, I'm making this up, issue 1020. Do I need to start at issue 1? I can't afford issue 1. Can I read it digitally? Do I need to read it digitally to understand issue 1020? You know what I'm saying? It's like, again, but if everything is new and everything is fresh and it's all the first time, may allow an easier entry point for anybody, regardless of how long someone has been a collector or a reader of comics. And so that could be part of the appeal as well. So scrolling through, a couple of people welcoming folks in there. I was hardcore Marvel, but now Boom, Vault, AWA, Scout have me more excited. That's because they are putting out some dope content, bro. I'm gonna be honest. I'm always going to be a Marvel guy, to be completely honest with you. But some of the companies that you mentioned, specifically a Boom, AWA, and Vault, probably in that order for me, they are killing it. They really are. Boom Studios is incredible. I have four titles from Boom Studios here on my list, and they're doing a fantastic job. So I cannot fault you at all for the comment that you're making right there. Scrolling through, seeing no one buys an indie because of the company. It's all cover that grabs the story and sustains. I don't know if I agree with that. I don't know if I agree with that. I don't know that I buy any book just because of the cover, and that's personal preference, right? I can tell you for a fact that I have not bought Something Is Killing the Children because of a cover, or Red Mother, or Seven Secrets. Just right out, or we find them when they're dead. I can't even remember the title of that book without looking at it. To be honest with you, I didn't buy any one of those books because of the cover. I bought them because other people read them and they said that they were really good stories, and I bought them because of that, right? The word of mouth. It was not because of the cover. And again, I would say in the case of like Boom Studios, I give Boom Studios titles a chance because Boom is killing the game right now, right? That is part of what draws me to them. Vault, TKO Studios, I started reading them because I thought that their distribution model was different. They're doing digital, they're doing binge watching or binge reading, where you get a binder of books that you read all at once, and that's the entire story. I thought that was unique, and so I was attracted to those things, not because of the cover, to be honest with you. And it's okay if you are attracted to that. I'm stating what attracts me to these things. It is not the covers. It's more about the fact that people have read these things and they're like, these are really good story. So let me get back to the chat here real quick, and then I have a couple more things that I want to talk about before moving on. Let me see. Scrolling through, let me see. What is this? Indies might benefit from a universe, i.e. Boom universe, Scout universe, etc., because keeping titles connected will keep them relevant. I think I would agree with that. But the challenge with that, though, is that requires, and I'm not saying that it's wrong, I'm simply throwing this out, that requires somewhat of a heavy hand in order to actually create that universe. Because part of the challenge with some of these companies is that, some of their titles are superhero, some of them are crime, some of them are horror, some of them are day in the life. And so because their titles cross so many different genres, I don't know if it's possible for them to actually create a shared universe. So, for example, I really enjoy what is it? There was a title. AWA's Resistance. AWA's Resistance, in my mind, is fantastic. It is based upon like a pandemic that comes. People get sick. Some people recover. Some people die. Some people that recover develop these powers, right? It is almost like the genesis of it's a mutation, right? And so they could very much build a universe based upon that one book, The Resistance, right? And there's so many stories that could be told from this pandemic that happened. People got powers and now they're superheroes, right? And you can build a lot of stories within that. But then they also have like Red Border, and they have Archangel, which is like this guy named Gabriel. I think he's like a fallen angel. I've only read like a couple of issues. It would be tough, but I think that you're onto something if they could create a shared universe. And that was pretty fly for a Filipino guy. That connectedness could actually work in their favor, but it might be tough because of the diverse nature of the characters and stories that are being told. And it also, I think, is going to take a little bit of heavy hand from an editor to tie all of that stuff together. And at that point, are we getting back to a Marvel and DC? If we start to be heavy-handed from an editorial thing to create this shared universe to make stories tie together, are you going back to Marvel and DC, and are you moving away from what makes these books and these titles and these companies really unique? That is something to think about. Excellent point. Excellent point. But it is definitely something to think about. So scrolling through, seeing what else you guys are talking about. Okay, so one other thing that I want to throw out here before we move on to some other topics here is, and this is an interesting one. Do the creators have to be famous and or have a reputation in the comic book industry for their books to be successful? And I asked that question because being famous never really hurts, right? It helps, right? But if you think about it, someone said it in here. They were like, it's great that the creators that work for the big two can actually go to the indies and have more creative freedom. It's an excellent point. Look at what, Donnie Cates and Jonathan Hickman and Hal Ewing, many other people are doing exactly that. They are doing what they have to do for Marvel and DC, and then they are going off to the indies and or to Image to have a little bit more creative freedom, and their books are selling. Tyler Kirkham, Kirkman, do they need to do that? Can you just be a regular Joe Schmo that has a really awesome idea? Can that regular Joe Schmo create a comic book title and actually have it do well? Something to think about. So scrolling through again, I hope not. So many brilliant creators out there, says Doug. I would agree, brother. Let me see. It used to be the opposite way. I think the opposite of what I'm saying here. People are always willing to follow the creators now, not the imprint. Not for me. I'm bad with remembering the name of I'm gonna be honest with you, brother. There's only a couple that I remember myself. So Dan P, I'm definitely with you, brother. That's why my comic book knowledge is where it should be, considering the fact that I've read comics off and on for years, right? But I don't remember names all that well. I just never really cared about the creator. For me, it was always about the character and never the creator. And now it's a little different. It's a little different now because of what someone just said here a few moments ago about sometimes it is about the creator that people follow, not necessarily just the characters. It is a very interesting paradigm shift that we're seeing right here. Is Regie hinting at another project? You never know. What is this? Robert Kirkman was not famous when he was writing Battle Pope. I'll be honest with you, brother. I never read Battle Pope. Never read it. But he is famous now. And again, I would say if he puts out anything right now, my guess is that people will at least give it a read because of who he is. You know what I'm saying? And that's kind of the point that I'm trying to make, is that do you have to be a known entity in this day and age in order to survive? Because the argument would be, as many different Robert Kirkmans as there are that have written things like Battle Rope, right? How many have we never heard of? Right? There's probably a lot more that have done really great work that we've never heard of versus those that we have actually heard of. And so again, I think it's an interesting point to say, do they have to be famous and or have a reputation at one of the major publishers in order to survive as at an indie? Is it possible? So just again, I wanted to stir this pot up just a little bit because I enjoy. No, there will never be a Regie Publishing. All right, so we're gonna move on from this title. I want to thank you guys for indulging me. I enjoyed this conversation. I'm actually gonna go back and read some of this stuff because I enjoy what you guys have to say about this, and I sometimes like to throw out these topics just to have a conversation. And this is no different, really, than some of the conversations that I actually have with people over direct messages, where people are like, "Hey, what about this?" Well, I'm like, "Well, hey, what about this?" And you have a little back and forth. It's a little bit of a different thing that I'm doing here right now, but it is very much in line with things that I have done in the past and do on a regular basis. So I want to thank you guys for indulging me just a little bit. All right. So because we are running late on time, I'm going to keep this thing moving forward. I want to give you guys a quick rundown of a couple of things that I'm reading as of late. I want to give a shout out to Clyde, and I don't know if Clyde is in the room right now, but Clyde told me about Far Sector. And Far Sector is a Green Lantern story, but it's actually a Green Lantern story that is a modern Green Lantern story that I actually enjoyed. It did not feel like a Green Lantern story, and I don't know if that was because of the main character or the writer, but it was, when I've read Green Lantern, I've always gotten tripped up on sector this in this quadrant with these crazy character names that I can never remember. And I get lost in these little details because I think that they matter when they may or may not. And I feel like I need to know a whole lot more in order to read Green Lantern. That's my feeling. I read Far Sector. I think I've read every issue that has come out. I want to say that maybe there's 7 issues. I've read all of them and I enjoyed them because the writer and the character actually made fun of like sector this with these people. I enjoyed that because that's actually how I feel when I read Green Lantern stuff. So Far Sector, I thought it was cool. Got a little political in one point, but as I thought about it, that is to some degree another par for course with some of the things that Green Lantern has actually done in its history. So it actually fit in quite nicely, and it was short-lived in one of the issues. I want to say it was like maybe issue 4 or something like that. Got a little political there. We only find them when they're dead. Issue number 1, fantastic read. Something is Killing the Children. As I mentioned already, I've been binge reading that. Fantastic read. I had an opportunity to read Avengers number 4. I never read Avengers number 4, and I'm talking about the first appearance of Kang the Conqueror. Well, I think it's the first appearance of Kang the Conqueror. I had never, it's the one with Kang on the cover. I had never read that comic. I read it. I enjoyed it. And I also read a series, Deathlock. I read issues 1 through 3 of Deathlock. This is the one by, I think it's Dwayne McGuffey. I think that's his last name. It was good. I actually do like some Deathlock. And I went back and I read this series. I want to say it was maybe from the late 90s, 2000s. I honestly can't remember. It was actually a pretty good read. So those are some of the books that I read just the last few days. Thoroughly enjoyed each and every one of them, which is why I mentioned them to you guys. Hopefully you'll have an opportunity to check them out. Some of these are new and some of these are old, but I'm always reading old and new always at the same time because I enjoy. I want to meander through these awesome titles. All right. There we go. Somebody said something about my invisible sleeves. I hate sleeves. No, I think it. Oh, you could be right, brother. It may not be 4. My handwriting may just be bad. You guys keep me honest. Here's the thing. I read a book with Kang the Conqueror. There we go. All right. So here are some of the books that are some of the videos that are going to be released from the channel over the course of this week. I'm going to be doing a CGC unboxing. And as part of this unboxing, I'm actually going to have some bonus footage from my interview with Chris Claremont a while ago. And so it should be a cool unboxing. Plus you get treated to some bonus Chris Claremont footage. Really awesome story that Chris shared with me that I decided to drop into this video because I had it laying around and thought I would make use of it. Now, it wasn't enough to do a full video, but I got a little clip in there that I think you guys would enjoy. So I wanted to have a little bit of a provocative conversation based upon some things that I've been saying, some things that I've been seeing. around later print runs. And so the question that I'll be discussing and debating in this vlog is, should we automatically be buying later print runs of comics? And this is something I've been talking about. This is something that I'm seeing the trend. And the question is, should we automatically be doing it, or should we be pumping our brakes in some way, shape, or form? DB, shout out to you, brother, for the super chat. I absolutely appreciate that. Thank you very much. There we go. Tina's always on it. Thank you, Tina. I definitely appreciate it. So another thing, another vlog that I'm releasing this week is, there are some things that I am seeing in the market that I want to bring to people's attention because they're observations that I have. And I don't know whether my observations are right or wrong, but I thought that it made for a good video to discuss, maybe to get you guys to think about some things. And the question that I'm posing, or the statement, the theory, is probably the better, is, are we headed for a major sell-off of comic books? And I'm not talking about a crash, I'm not talking about that, but are we headed for a major sell-off associated with comic books? And then the very last video that I'm going to be releasing this week is, this is a long-awaited video that people have been asking me for, and I'm finally getting around to releasing it, is a video on how to dry clean comics. And so, yes, I have released pressing videos, and those pressing videos have been well received. I did a little bit of cleaning in one of them, but I am finally releasing a video on how to dry clean comics. And I think that you guys will enjoy it. If you watch my pressing videos, this is very much in line with that type of video. I probably should have done the cleaning video first before the pressing video, but we are like, maybe 10 months after the fact, and you know, there's nothing you can do. There's nothing you can do. You can't put the juice back in the lemon. I don't even know if that's a saying, but we are just gonna go. So I'm releasing that video. So those are the 4 videos, and then we're also going to be releasing a podcast, and I'm going to write myself a note to make sure that podcast is indeed scheduled. I just remembered I did it a couple of weeks ago. Podcast is scheduled. It will be dropping on Monday at 7 a.m. Pacific time. And I think Monday is a holiday for a lot of people. So I may also be going live on Monday as well. We shall see. All right. So with that, we're going to give away a book right now. We're going to give away this book right here. This is Daredevil issue number 158, a really awesome Frank Miller book. The phrase for this book right here, this 9.2 with white pages, was RIP. R.I.P. right there on the tombstone. R.I.P. was the phrase. And so we're going to be hooking somebody up, one lucky person, with that comic right there, as well as the exclusive variant from my friends over at Go Collect. So shout out to those guys for, again, putting me in a position to be able to give away some cool books every single week for the last 80 plus weeks. All right. So let me go ahead and share my screen with you guys. We're going to roll some dice. We're going to randomize a list, and then we are going to give away a really cool book. So we have rolled 7. We have rolled 7, so we are going to randomize our list a total of 7 times. Let me share my screen with you guys one more time. And again, DB, thank you for this super chat, brother. I absolutely appreciate it. So let's scroll through the names. These are all of the individuals that were able to successfully enter this week's giveaway. And basically, to enter the giveaway, you basically have to be a subscriber, resident of the United States, a resident of Canada. And over the course of the week, you have to find the video that contains a phrase. And in that video, that phrase will give you everything that you need to know to be able to enter the weekly giveaway. You then head to the community section, you plug in that phrase along with some other information, and then you are off to the races. And then you basically have to tune into the Ready, Set, Go preview show to find out if you're the winner. And if you don't watch the live show, you just have to watch the replay and then claim your prize. So that's the other big thing. So whoever wins tonight, please make sure that you claim your prize. So we're going to randomize this thing a total of 7 times. That is 1. Here is 2. Here is 3. That's 4 right there. 5. 6. And the winner of this week's Go Collect giveaway is, Who is it? Y2L Ray. Y2L Ray, you are indeed the winner, and we have a Canadian in second place. Hopefully you guys will be able to see that. Let me make sure. There, you guys can see that. So there you go. Y2L Ray, you, sir or madam, are the winner of this week's Go Collect giveaway. A really awesome Daredevil 158. All you have to do is to send me an email with your screen name, your government name, your mailing address to Regie at regiecollects.com. Regie is the correct spelling. So you can see the folks that are in the top 10. And again, if the first place winner does not claim their book, you definitely want to be paying attention in the subsequent weeks in the event that your name is on this list, because it could indeed be coming your way. Shout out to Chris B. I see you, brother. All right, so there you go. That is this week's giveaway. I'm going to take that away real quick, and I will give you guys a preview of the book that is going to be given away this next week here. It's a really cool book. I think it is a 9.0 with white pages. It is Iron Fist #1, the first battle, I do believe, between Iron Fist and Iron Man. And this is a continuation of Marvel Premiere issue number 25. This is Iron Fist issue #1, 9.0 with white pages. Really cool book that someone will walk away with. Scrolling through, let me see. I think Christopher is in here. Yeah, check out the replay, brother. And I just lost my chat, so I'm going to have to pop over to one sec here. I need to pop over to YouTube. My chat has just gone out, so mute that real quick. Okay, there. Iron Fist back to the community. Great book, says Milt Aaron Burgers. Like, I want it. Nice book, Brandy Snake. There you go. What is this? Reggie, the phrase for the next book should be claim. That would be hilarious. Thankfully, the video is already been recorded, right? I try to keep these, I try to stay ahead of the curve. There you go. So there we go. All right, cool. You guys are hilarious. I'm reading some of the comments here. Well done. All right, so there you go. All right, cool. So I want to thank you guys for hanging out with me just a little bit. Again, thank you for engaging me in a robust conversation around these indie publishers. Again, I did this honestly because I think that these indie companies are putting out some really good content. And I don't know, honestly, if they have the ability or even the desire, to be honest with you, to actually do their own market research in which they sit down and have conversations with comic book collectors and readers to find out what it is that they should be doing in order to be successful. So essentially what I'm trying to do is to use the platform that I have here to essentially serve as some market research for those publishers. And my hope is that they will watch this, and from my commentary and from your written text comments, they may be able to derive some ideas and some strategies and some tactics that they can actually implement to be successful and to ensure that they are continuing to deliver for us really awesome content. So that is like the primary goal. And then, there's some secondary and tertiary goals in there as well that we are not going to talk about. But I do indeed want to thank you guys. I enjoyed the conversation. So thank you very much. Again, really awesome content that is going to be coming out from the channel over the course of this week. All of the videos are going to be released at 3:30 p.m. Pacific time, Monday through Thursday. And in one of those videos is a phrase that you will actually need to be able to enter this week's giveaway. If you don't know how to enter the giveaway, I definitely want to encourage you to search YouTube for Regie Collects Go Collect, and you can find a full video or two that will give you all the details on how to actually enter the contest. If any of you, for whatever reason, need to reach out to me, you can actually do it on Instagram at Regie Collects, or you can send me an email to Regie at regiecollects.com. And as a reminder, there is some really fantastic content that is posted up to my website. So if you are interested in that, I want to encourage you to check out the website. Some really great blog posts that are up there. I actually need to put one up soon. So try to check that out at regiecollects.com. Thank you very much. Have a good night, and I will talk to you soon.